Hi, everyone. My name is Taki Nagumo, Executive Director of the Smart City Institute of Japan. Welcome to our webinar. We've been running the webinar for a year and months. This is the 215th round of the webinar. And actually, this is the second round of the English-only webinar called Global Perspective on the Smart Cities. So for those who are expecting in Japanese, we don't have in Japanese this time. And we'll put the recorded video clip on the YouTube later on, where you can put the Japanese subtitle put in the bottom. So that makes sure that we have the only English conversation today. Okay, and today we have guests from the Barcelona. And first of all, let's invite our guest speaker. So I'm delighted to invite Mr. Josep Bohigas, Director of Urban Ecology Agency of Barcelona. So Josep, come in. Hi.
Hi, hello. Thank you very much for this wonderful invitation.
Thank you for coming. I'm so honored to invite you. And today we're gonna have a vision of sustainable cities in the COVID-19 crisis, Barcelona's DECIDIM application cases. And I'm glad to have you back in this Japanese community, actually. But it's been 1 year and 5 months since we met last time in Tokyo, right?
Yes, it seems that it's a long time ago, because during this time, everything changed in our world.
Yeah.
And I was so happy to go to Japan at that point. And I'm still very happy to, at one point, to go back to Japan, because that was very short visit. And I couldn't come because they forbid us to move around. And I hope that this changes very fast. Now we're getting better.
Yeah. So the vaccination has started. Hopefully towards the end of this year, we have more freedom to fly around to the world, right? Right. So Joseph, I will let you to present your update from Barcelona. And then the Japanese audiences are particularly, I think, interested in the DECIDIM, because cities have started to use the DECIDIM. And then, you are the origin. So how you are making a progress in Barcelona is a kind of interesting story, right? So it's all up to you, your showtime.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm really happy to be back, at least with this distance and with this technology, to at least to get in contact with Japan. And let me share my screen and start right away with the lecture. Okay. I hope you see this image. Okay.
Perfect.
Great. The story I wanted to tell you, it was just to explain a couple of projects, but at least to give you a context of what happened during the last years in the city of Barcelona. And the last part, I will try to explain you a little bit about DECIDIM, that I'm not responsible, because I'm an architect and urbanist, and I didn't really work directly to invent the idea of the DECIDIM, but I will try to explain you, and of course to answer any questions that I can answer. But the story that I wanted to tell you is a little bit how we went through from the 80s, the 1980s, till nowadays, the evolution of the urban development that we had. You know that Barcelona, we came from 40 years of dictatorship with Franco, and in 75 the dictator died, and then in 79 we had our first democratic election. It was a very important moment, because we opened up the city to the world, the country to the world, but especially the city, with this mayor, the one who's rising up his hands, is Pascual Maragall, the mayor of the 80s and 90s, the mayor of the Olympic Games of 1992, and that he started to change the idea of the city, the image also of the city. That's why I called Barcelona's Wars, because we come from a very dark period of the Franco dictatorship, which and we started to open up ourselves. But then, of course, after that, we went back to a period that we don't like very much, because we lost most of the things that we gained at one point, and then now we are trying to reconquer. So that's why I call it this way: Barcelona's wars: win, lose, and trying to reconquer. As I said, the Olympic Games was a very important moment for Barcelona. We started the opening day with this big hola. Hola means hello in Spanish, no? Saying hello to the world, no? Opening our hands to the world and saying that we exist. We a city that nobody came, because Barcelona was not a tourist attraction at all. Nobody came during the summer. Nobody came to visit us. And it was very important, the Olympic Games, to open up and to show the city. And of course, always the Olympic Games was an excuse. In fact, we always talk that, in fact, the sports, we were not really care that much about sports. We did care about the opportunity of the Olympic Games to open up the city, you know? And always with the sports behind, there was this back curtain of the city, because in fact, what we were presenting was the city itself to the world. Even our mascot was raising his hands and saying hello to the world. Of course, to prepare the Olympic Games during the 80s, we started with a acupuncture strategy of really realizing that during 40 years of the Franco dictatorship, our public spaces didn't exist, because in fact, it was forbidden to be in the public space with more than 5 or 6 people. It was forbidden to have meetings in public space, to rehearse in the public space. So one of the first things that we did during the 80s was to recover those public spaces that was not allowed to be there, and to start it with this acupuncture strategy of getting back to the streets. And this strategy went on. Next step during the 80s, from 86, that we gained the Olympic Games with these 4 big areas. That was the Olympic areas, the Olympic Village, the Olympic Ring, and the other 2 Olympic villages and areas for sports that were very, very strategically located in the outskirts of the city, places where were forgiven during many years, and was an opportunity also to use those areas to connect them all with the ring road, no? As you see, the road that connects all those 4 areas. So those are the big projects, the small projects like the little plazas from the 80s, no? This for instance, is a little plaza of La Merced in the center, no? Little places that allowed people to gather around. And of course, other spaces that were, as you see in the left-hand side, no? Places that, for instance, this is the Palm Tree Plaza, where we only had a palm tree and nothing. There was no public space. And then with Richard Serra, a sculptor from the United States, made this wonderful wall that is a sculpture and that protects the palm tree and creates spaces for the people, for the old people and for the young people. No, this starting to really connect with different projects that were really at that point very radical, all of them, because each one of them invented new ways to create public spaces. Like, for instance, this beautiful old quarry in the city, connected and recovered for the citizenship with a big swimming public pool that is a plaza, is a pool, is a park, and also is a place for sculptures like this Chillida sculpture hanged from the walls of the. But of course, also was a project not only of little plazas and little parks, also was a big project, the Olympic Games, of huge infrastructures like this highway that was trying to connect all these Olympic areas. That also was an excuse. We didn't really make only highways. What we did was to starting to bridge between places that they were disconnected, no, and to use the infrastructure also as an opportunity. Like, for instance, also after the Olympic Games, the same idea went on with these big projects. In fact, in this case, we had to invent a new event, in this case, the Forum of Cultures, and also to keep opening up the city to the sea and keep building up new beaches, new spaces for the public. But in fact, it's very beautiful to see that moment, which I think it's a beautiful and energetic, very interesting moment, the 80s and the 90s of the city, because it was a big change all around the transformation of the Olympic Games. And it's very beautiful, this logo that made Javier Mariscal, an artist, that he discovered that our word, it was in fact divided in 3 words: Barcelona. Bar, of course, you know exactly what it is, a bar. It was very important. Bars in the 80s were very important in the city, because it was the places when we still didn't have the plazas, the little spaces in the city. We gather in the bars, and in the bars where all the culture was developing during the first years of after the young democracy. Cel, that means sky in Catalan. Sky, because we were 40 years looking down, looking at the looking down, because we were in a dictatorship, and then we start looking up and looking the horizon, a new future through the horizon. And ona means wave, so it was also an idea of discovering the sea, discovering the horizon, looking up, and discovering the sea as a great opportunity to really have a sea that we didn't really had before, or we had, but we didn't really have projects that were easy to habilitate. But as you see, after that period, after the Olympic Games, then we had a crisis. And of course, we had a crisis of money. We had a crisis also because it was an international crisis. And we started to kind of keep up with this idea that the tourists start coming, and the city was nice to present, but the government didn't have enough money to keep going with the same investments. So the city started also to contact with private investment and to a little bit sell the city to allow those big projects to keep going. No? And this is the thing, a problem, because as you see, for instance, the slogans, we end up with a terrible slogan for the city, which is Barcelona, the best shop in the world. That means that we kind of sell ourselves to this new market, and to become in those rankings very important. No? Even, for instance, something that happened, the tourists start coming, a lot of tourism, and we start selling also a little bit our soul. In this case, for instance, you see this last slogan from the 2012 that saying Barcelona inspires, doing with this ugly cloud made of an imitation of Gaudí trencadís, no? Which is also something that we were very worried that to use those icons, those ideas, strong ideas that become from the culture of the city, starting being sold to allow more investment and to allow more people coming to the city. So we went from Barcelona 92 to the Forum of 2004. And also we went on by enlarging the relation with the sea, and with all these many different projects that were going at the ones that they were done in the 80s, the small scale squares, streets and parks, the large scales of the 92, waterfront and residential and sports areas, and the 2004, the metropolitan scale with infrastructures and strategic areas. But the thing is that to do so, to keep building those big transformations, we had a little bit to sell our soul to the devil. See here, for instance, you see all this project of the Forum, which was very nice to gather and to have new spaces for the citizenship. But to pay this, we had to sell parts of our projects, our spaces, to allow private investment, which were not really public and not really with the same public tradition that Barcelona had. No, so you have that logo of the Forum with two hands. In fact, it's two hands, the public and the private hands, that are allowing maybe beautiful or interesting buildings like this public museum done by Herzog and de Meuron, but at the same, and that has this triangular shape, but at the same time, one of the most terrible buildings, a city shopping mall, which is not related with the tradition of the commerce tradition of the city, and not even of the urban tradition. No, with this city that in fact has nothing to do with the Mediterranean cities. So at that point, we start seeing many people from abroad that came to the city and wanted to invest, which is something good to have private investment coming to the city. But this was many times done for speculation reasons. And we had these big and good architects like Jean Nouvel or Ricardo Ophil or Dominique Perrault or Foster or Toyo Ito or different architects, very good architects, that they were coming and they were coming down to the city and allowing to do their own business. But they, in fact, most of them, they were not really public engagement. They didn't have a public engagement. So the city started to a little bit kept going and selling itself. Like, for instance, this project of Toyo Ito, which I think is one of the best architects in the world, a Japanese architect. But when he came to Barcelona, I think he didn't do one of his best projects, because this one is only the facade, and a facade that was saying that it's a copy or inspired with the idea of La Pedrera, which is right next to it. Or, for instance, Norman Foster, that was also saying that his new project for the Football Club Barcelona was inspired by Gaudí of the fountain of the Parc Güell, or Jean Nouvel, that was also inspired by Gaudí. So all these obvious inspirations of Gaudí, which I think it's silly, because it doesn't really reflect exactly this innovation. No, it's not. There are not really innovative projects. There are projects which they take Gaudí as an icon, as an image. No, like, for instance, Jean Nouvel saying that his tower is completing the Sagrada Familia project of Gaudí. Or even worse, at this point, we stopped this project to sell part of our territory to make a big casino with prostitutes, with drug dealers, with gaming, with a terrible model of the city. Also with the idea of being Gaudinian, no, of being designed with the ideas of Gaudí, which is really stupid. No, so at one point we made this beautiful moment of the 80s and beginning of the 90s, but then the 2000s started very bad with all these speculators projects coming to the city and selling part of the initiative to these private investments, which is terrible, that your own city is being built only with speculators around. So that's why many good theoreticians and different writers started to say, to publish books, like, for instance, this one that's done by Manuel Delgado, said, La Ciudad Mentirosa, the lying city, a city that is being lying to its own citizens, because it's telling you one thing, but it's doing the other thing, no? Or I hate Barcelona, this one, no? I hate Barcelona. Or urbanalization, no? Because it's true that many of those projects were done with the worst banalization images of different areas of the world, with this globalization that is very banal, no? So we started to believe that this is not the city we want. No? We wanted another city, mainly also because we were losing our streets. We were losing our public spaces that we gained during the 80s. For instance, La Rambla, one of the most beautiful streets in Europe, I would say, no, the one that goes to the sea, and in one beautiful space to gather, which is nice to see families and nice to see tourists also, but it's nice, a place. It started to become something terrible. No, places were sold to the tourism with this enormous gentrification, no, with images that are terrible, like this one, a German tourist with a Mexican hat that is being fabricated in China. So that's a terrible image of your own city, no? La Ramblas colonized with this absurd, stupid image of global tourist city, no? It's a terrible image that we end up with many people fighting against this tendency of saying, you know, we said during the 80s, hello, we said hello to the world, and now we were saying adeu, that means goodbye. These people, we are now saying goodbye to La Ramblas, goodbye to Parguell, goodbye to Passeig de Gràcia, goodbye to Barceloneta, goodbye to Ciutat Vella, goodbye to all those places that we gained after at the beginning of the democracy. But with this enormous pressure of these big companies taking place, and with the tourism taking place, all those places that we lost, and we don't go to these places anymore, the people that we live in Barcelona. So this thing, I like to think that started to change in 2015 with the new mayor and the new project and the new idea. No, we you know that the three ways, the classical ways to describe what is a city. No, they said the Greek and the Roman, they call it urbs, polis, and civitas. The three ways, different ways to call a city. I think we started during the 80s to become an urbs. Urbs is the physical part of the city, the public space, the city, the buildings, the streets, the parks. No, and we build up the urbs. Then next step was the polis, the interchange, and we sell our city. And now I think we are entering into this definition of the city, which is the civitas. The civitas is the people. What is a city? The hardware or the software? We now believe that the city is the software and the people, and that we have to do is to change the way we use it. So we create a new strategy, putting the people in the center, not the economical growth, not the tourism, not the visitors, we put the people in the center, and around the people, starting to build up this onion that we call it the rights. The right for housing is the first layer, the right for the neighborhood, the right for the city, the right for the metropolis, and of course at the end, we have also the right to become a global city. But we don't have to start the opposite around. No, the years before the 2015, we started to be there, be the first of Europe, be the third of Europe of cruisers, of visitors, of investment. But in fact, we forgot that the city is done by the people, and now we tend to reverse this. We start with the people, and then we end up with becoming a global city. And around these circles, this onion, we also build up strategies. No, the strategies of filling the life of the streets, filling the streets with life, to recovering neighborhoods, the ecological translation, that reorient the big transformations with this idea that we were saying more social, no? And also to think in metropolitan scale. And around this onion of the rights and these petals of this flower, we place all the projects that we are dealing at the same time, no? And trying to always refer them to the people who are placed in the center of all these policies. And all these projects, we place them in a map, and also to be sure that they are well distributed, because last years, all the investment was in the beach. All the investment was in the seafront, all the investment was in the center, but we forgot that there were many other parts of the city that needed also projects and investment. So we distributed a new layer of the city and around the city. Of all those projects, I'm gonna explain you only one of the strategies, because there are many projects around, but maybe to say, I'm gonna talk about two, but only explain one in deep. In fact, there are two strategies around here, which is one to recycle all what's happening here inside of the ring road. This is a very dense city. Barcelona, we have a very dense city. So in fact, the solutions of our problems are not gonna come building up new neighborhoods. It's silly to think that we're gonna do a perfect city. No, our city, the future is exactly what we already have. We have to transform what we already have. We don't have to imagine like new ideal neighborhoods, because we don't have even space to do it. So it's very important to recycle the interior of the city. And at the same time, also we need to redefine our territory, which is connected with the river, connected with the other river, connected with the sea, and connected with the mountain. So it's also a double opportunity here to recycle the interior and to redefine our relation with the geography, our relation with our neighborhoods, which is the metropolitan scale. I'm going to explain you only the strategy of the super blocks that you may already know. As I said, it's a project of recycling the grid. We have a very nice grid of the Cerda plan. And what we do is to create a new grid on top and to identify which are the streets that we really want cars to go through. And the rest, you can liberate it to the people, to the citizenship. So we create a new layer to the city with these streets that have hierarchy to carry with all the traffic, and the rest are open spaces. So it's very simple strategy. We have the actual grid is this one, the current situation, and now we only allowed cars to go around these black arrows and liberate these interior spaces. This, of course, opens up a revolution of the topography, because you can start using this topography to do other stuff, not only the topography for the cars, which is this kind of topography, and we start doing maybe concave topographies for the people. Also, we can change the materiality. We can, here is very strong materiality for cars, and here could be soft materiality for people. We can also change the vegetation. No, here we have dense vegetation to stop the smoke of the cars. But then, as you enter inside of the super block, you can have other alineations and other kind of typologies of greenery. Also the lighting. So it's a revolution of what can happen inside. Also, instead of having cars, you can have other activities. You can start using where before there were cars crossing to use it for other uses. But why we do promote super blocks? We do it because we liberate, we release 70% of the space that is occupied today with motorized mobility. Also, because of course the habilitability of the quality of the public space changes. It's very different to have this than to have, of course, the streets become parts of the connected green infrastructure. But mainly, one of the main reasons is because Barcelona is very polluted. We have a very strong problems with the many cars that are running through in the middle of the city. So we take out those cars and we allow that the polluted air becomes better. But not only the polluted air, also the polluted noise. It's a very difficult place to sleep and to live in the center of the city, because there is a lot of noise. So taking out those cars and pacifying those streets also allows another quality of the public spaces. But of course, everything is inspired, of course, in the measures of adaptation while mitigating climate change, because of course we will have like places with more canopy of green canopies and shaded spaces together with more fresh and to go down with the temperature. And of course, it's a great opportunity to connect the greens. We have a few green spaces in Barcelona, in the center areas of Barcelona. So allowing those streets that connect all those parks, and then you have corridors, green corridors that connect everywhere. And one of the most amazing revolutions, of course, will be that we have 150 new squares, where we have cars. Now we will have 2,000 square meters of squares. And in fact, what we always say is that this very simple recycling methodology, it becomes like 6 million square meters are released. So I would say that this is the most important recycling project in the world in these terms, without demolishing any building, just by reorient those spaces. And of course, we do want to have those square meters to allow citizenship to put the citizens in the center of all those transformation and allow them to breathe nice air, to not have polluted noise, and of course to allow them to deploy many of the programs that now they don't have spaces to do it. So the center is the kids playing, the old people gathering, the people, the commercials also allowing many different activities in those streets where now are cars. But all this happens because, of course, we did during the last 10 years a project of changing the hierarchy of the movement of the public transportation. The public transportation, the surface public transportation, we move them and we dimension all those transport networks into this hierarchy of the superblocks. But to say it fast, you see now, for instance, what's happening today. We have 350,000 cars going through the city now. So it's impossible to accept that our city becomes this amazing highway divided in streets of cars crossing the city. So in this case, we are also trying to solve this problem. And of course, the concentration of NO2, which is terrible and is killing many people every year in the city. So to do so, we did a very interesting process, because we did it with students. We make a tactical first in 2015, when the first year of the mayor, of this new mayor, we did it with our students. We went to one super block and we did this pilot super block. You know, the nice thing is that the hashtag, the idea of hashtag is exactly what we liberate inside of the super block. No, we have the three streets, the idea of the hashtag of superblock. We started with taking one part of the city and we prove it for 1 weekend, and we did it with 200 students. We paint in the street superblock, and we didn't allow to pass cars, and to start also blocking the streetlights with garbage bags. We did it with the students. It was, I think, it's a beautiful picture that expresses the radicality of the transformation of those areas, no? And of course, with the students, we start to building up places for young kids, for sport, for gathering, and I would say that, of course, places where before there were cars parking, we decided that we could have swimming pools for the people of the schools and for the kids. And in the center, in the crossing, spaces to gather for the communities, and also what I would say most important, we create in the middle of a crossing a parliament, a place to talk about the project, and we started here with Salvador Rueda, who's one of the inventors of the idea of the super blocks, with the politician, Janet Sanz, with the architects, this Iñaki Vaquero, with the students, with the neighborhoods. We start placing a place to gather and to discuss about the project of super blocks and to share it. We started at 4 o'clock talking here. Everybody is very energetic, and Salvador Rueda is saying what is about the project. But at 1 o'clock at night, we were tired and we're still discussing. It was very beautiful to see how people, students, neighborhoods start to share this. And then next day was a huge discussion on the news, on the television, and of course everybody started to talk about this new project, this new strategy of Barcelona. In the very newspapers around the world, in New York and everywhere, start talking about this new strategy of the superblock. Of course, inside of Barcelona, there were many people who were against, because they want to go through those spaces with their own cars, and they were not, they didn't agree. But after 2 years of having those beautiful opportunities to do things, the opinion changed, and now everybody in their neighborhoods wants their superblocks, no? And now we're enlarging this strategy, and we are it's happening everywhere in the city. And of course, many people of neighborhoods are taking those public spaces to really do things which before it was impossible to develop, no? Like playing chess or gathering or moving around, no? The next pilot project was around the market of San Antonio, And it has been a huge transformation. This one, it was not tactical, and it really become a success, and it is a new super block. And this situation, of course, was added to the emergency activity that we did for the COVID, for the pandemic. We started also to use the pandemic as an excuse also to start opening up spaces for the citizenship with paint, no? For instance, in front of the schools for the little kids, or taking parts of the street for enlarging the sidewalks, allowed people to walk in the city. So we create a new pilot projects to really extend the idea of super blocks. And now what we are having is a new concept, a new project, a competition that just finished to enlarge and to make more structural those tactical projects, and to enlarge to 21 streets and 21 plazas in the middle of the city that's going to be built. So we make this competition, and I'm going to show you a little video that explains a little bit. I don't know if you hear the music. This is the little squares of the crossing. There's 2,000 square meters. This is the ones that they were already done. That was enlarged with those streets. We took cars out and we leave those spaces to the people. And now we are getting bigger with these 4 plazas and crossings and streets. And next step is being ready to, now we have these 4 streets, and to go to 21 streets and 21 squares, creating a new neighborhood with this recycling of these areas. So this is the result of the competition. Now you see this is a street, a very interesting street of the Champla Sardà, that before there were cars here, and of course now it's a new idea. Other proposals that also are going to be implemented, like this one, connecting with the green in the crossings, and then allowing the streets for the people, or those crossings in the center, creating gardens in the middle, areas for citizenship to gather, to create different activities, or little parks. Well, and this was one of those projects that I think we are very excited to see that if in a couple of years they're going to be done and built, and we're going to really demonstrate that it's nicer to live inside of the city, although of course the city is still connected with the world, connected. Of course cars can go, but cannot go everywhere. We decided where to place them and to allow those spaces for the citizenship, placing the people in the middle, not the cars, not the business, but putting the people. No? But to do so, I think it's important to also describe a little bit. I'm not the perfect person to talk about this project of DECIDIM, because I didn't invent it. I am an architect. I work with urban projects, but of course we use the DECIDIM platform to do our project, because most of the projects that we are doing, they are done with participation of the citizenship. So that's why we create this platform of participation, that it's a free program, open source, that is in 30 languages, so it's very easy to use. It's of course not only a platform of participation for the people of the city, but also it's a platform. The platform itself is being participated and implemented. So there is a community of people, of different people that can gather and give hints and ways to improve the platform itself. So it's as I said, a free open source participatory democracy for cities and organizations. I think what was important is to realize that we couldn't do this we couldn't say that we wanted a city placing the people in the center if we didn't ask the people exactly what they wanted to happen. No? So this is a tool, a very important tool to really become a democracy. No? We had these two models, no? The model of the democracy and the model of the street. So we needed something in the middle, no? to allow this process of participation, which are kind of in the middle, no? of cooperative processes. So as we say, it's a free open source participatory democracy for cities and organization, and not only for Barcelona. And it's been used for more than 300 institutions around the world. And now in Barcelona, there are more than 400,000 participants and 160 participatory processes and different more than 60,000 proposals already in the platform. No, in Barcelona, in DECIDIM Barcelona, we already got 25,000 proposals from the citizens, no, and more than 84,000 participants, and comments and gatherings and accepted proposals and results. How does it work? Okay, it's an online and offline integration. That's also important. We are not only a digital platform. We are an application for people for all ages and all origins. So it's completely open. Of course, I was saying before to Nauro-san that my kids, my sons of 16 years old are participating very, very strong in this platform too, because they put their own proposals of their own school that they want to implement. So it's a beautiful way to participate. And of course, that includes for meeting comments and etc. Also, it's a proposal, it's a place for proposals and debates. No, there is a methodology of how you put proposals, but then you are charged to organize also the different debates around each proposal. No, there are multiple ways to interact and multiple ways to navigate inside of this platform. Also, it's a possibility to articulate physical participation with meetings, not only meetings between the people who are rising up a proposal, but also meetings and video conferences with the politicians. So it's a way to gather also in those debates and to articulate different possibilities of participatory ways. No? But what I think is very interesting and that we just have implemented, and we are now exactly doing working with this. I just voted in this participatory budgeting. It's very interesting how most of those debates, most of those proposals at the end took part of the budget of the administration, and this part of the budget it's voted now with many different proposals. You can vote your own neighborhood, but also you can vote another neighborhood, and you have an amount of money that you can distribute. And this now it's been more than 40,000 people participating in this voting, and I think that in a couple of weeks we will see which are the finalist projects that have been voted and that going to be implemented in the city. And of course, there are other features like surveys, blogs, and pages, and many other different possibilities to use the platform for this. But as I said, it's an open source platform that it's open to be used for anybody who wants. It's more, as I said, more than 300 democratic institutions, 20 countries, 130 cities, 30 governmental organizations, and 40 social organizations. No? In Helsinki are using DECIDIM, in Mexico, in Japan, I think there are 3 or 4 different, I think two neighborhoods in Tokyo and 2 other cities in Japan that are using the DECIDIM platform. I know that you have a lot of interest because when I came to Japan, we explained the project. I didn't explain. The expert on DECIDIM came also to Japan and explained all. And I knew that you had a lot of interest and a lot of questions to ask around this. In France, the Assemblée Nationale is using the platform also for for participation, and European Commission is also using it in France. It's different. Many places who are using now our it's not it's us, because as I said, it's an open source platform. It's from everybody, and everybody can join and also ask and add new features to implement. So that's it. I just explained one project. The time, I don't know if I took too much time, but I wanted to explain one of the most important of recycling projects, and also the way that we do it to decide how those projects are implemented. So thank you very much for your attention, and of course I'm open to any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Josep. Wow, it's impressive. Always impressive. And the history of Barcelona is also intriguing. Many of Japanese people are not aware of the history behind, but history is telling us why Barcelona is there right now. It's very much informative. And then for those watching this the webinar on Zoom, we are going to welcome any questions or comments to Mr. Josep. And then when you write a message, please use the chat box and choose all panelists and participants by pulling down the menu. That's the way we share all the information together with all the participants, okay? All right, so until we get the questions from the audiences, I'll ask some questions to you. And Josep, so, as I always look at the cities in Spain, Barcelona is prominent. It's very different from other cities like Madrid or Malaga. Those are also known as smart city oriented cities. But the type of energy, type of progress you're making is very unique. What makes Barcelona so unique from other cities in Spain, let's say?
It's difficult to answer. This. It's very difficult because, of course, I love all the cities, Madrid, I love Malaga, I love all the cities that you mentioned. I think each one has its own things, no? And of course, it's not easy to compare one city with another. But it's true that maybe Barcelona has a tradition in urban developments, starting with the Cerdà Plan. I think one of the most nicest urban layers that we have is our Cerdà Plan, this grid, which is very democratic, and it's been a nice way to enlarge the city with a system that's very isotropic, that connects all these little centers of the little villages were around. This is something that I think gave us to the Barcelona a strategy, a map, a plan, no? And I think that when you have something like this in your head, it's very difficult to destroy it, although many governments had tried to destroy it. And so we are always talking about the city, and it's very beautiful how people had been always involved in those transformations, because when you open up a little plaza, it's amazing how the people go there and say and talk and discuss. And in the taxi cab, you enter in a taxi and he's saying, okay, I'm against, and I don't like it, or I like it, or and in the newspapers there are many articles. So I think there is a culture and a tradition of believing that the form of the city is important for our lives. Many other cities, they don't believe in that much in urbanism. I think that Cerdà created the discipline. He created the book of the theory of urbanism. Is the man who created the discipline. So we belong to that tradition, and also the neighborhoods also participate a lot, always in the 80s, in the 70s, and now they are constantly very also critical with what the government does or doesn't do, and pushes very much the projects to become real important for the city. So I think it has to do with the tradition, and it has to do also with the participatory ways of the citizens of the city that allows this condition that you say that's unique?
Thank you very much. I asked the question because when we talk about the smart cities in Japan, we excessively pay attention to the digital piece of it, digitalization. But as always, I hear from you, I always remember the importance of the urban physical world, like streets or square and plaza. You mentioned the structure of the the city, the Champlain part of it, and then you also talked about the relationship to the neighbors. The ring road touching all the natures. That decides what you can do within the space you're given, right? So before thinking about the technology per se, I think it's very important to remember what we have already physically, and also the relationship with the nature, and also the people living in the space. And without that context, probably just talking about the technology is a little bit off the target, right? So that's a kind of type of lesson we always learn from Barcelona. Thank you for mentioning about the importance of that, physical part and the humans. That's a very important message for us.
And I think, which is something also that we learned from Japan very much, is the technology. It's not neutral. Technology is not neutral. You can have technology, and you have to decide what does it help technology to. No, and I think we did a very enormous effort. For instance, the DECIDIM platform is a beautiful example. No, but I think from Japan we also learned very much that the technology, of course, can be very good for business, can be very good for, but it has to be very good for people, for the city and for the using of the city. And so that's why now we're implementing many of the gadgets and of the technology for smart city project that of course it's behind many of those things, but always asking ourselves that this technology should be placed in terms of getting better the life of the people, not for business, not for but putting all those sensors. Now, for instance, the Superblock project, it has behind a layer of a smart city project, very, very interesting, where we are counting everything, we are putting them in different technological gadgets to allow us to have more information of the citizenships to have a better lives. And this is the main shift that we had from the older situations, no? That they talked about smart city, but in fact, the smart city were businesses of private companies that they wanted to sell their own gadgets, and in fact, they were not gone through the layer of okay, we want those gadgets, but why do we want them? To improve the life of the people.
Yeah, I think you touched upon the private companies, renovating the city with the kind of pseudo-cultural, outlook, right? And then you describe that we have to sell our soul a little bit, in return for modernizing the building or whatever. And then that kind of conflict is also an important history, and then where we have a lot of things to learn. The just automatic modernization without thinking about identity of the city or historical background of the city, the value of the citizens, it's losing the value itself. Maybe it's a game of losing at the end, right? So, I think, of course, Japanese cities are mindful of that cultural value and so forth, but, the case of Barcelona is, more visibly elaborating what really happened historically, right? So what's the conclusion out of it? So, you have to balance the economic, vitality versus cultural value, right? Not, without one of these, missing something, right? So you have to really balance it.
Completely, I agree. I agree, because we also, because we cannot. So I think we were talking before the webinar with you, that we were saying that there is these two forces that they have to be balanced, no? And also in terms of private and public, for instance, no? If you let the city only in private hands, it's a terrible situation, which we all know where it deals. But of course, you cannot leave to public because it has not enough energy, not enough money, not enough. So you have to try to find places in the middle where the leadership should be public, but of course the business and the private companies should of course have their own opportunity to gather, but always with the leadership of knowing what you are doing those things for, no? And of course there is business, of course there is this economical point of view, of course, but not allow them to think the city. You have to gather together and to find this balance strategies, no? You were talking before about before the webinar about the cooperative projects.
Yes.
Now we are very happy in that is growing. It's very slow because it's not obvious, but we are trying to build up like these areas of cooperative situations where equipments or housings or spaces even are dealt and co-responsible with the private and the public, and trying to find, of course, with the leadership of the public, but with the opportunities for everybody, to gather and to co-produce together the city.
I think it's the new lesson learned all the citizens must share nowadays. When I was a college student and take the, let's say, economics class, particularly the economics textbook is a translated version of the American University's economics program, right? It talks about pure economics theory, maybe from the neoliberalism standpoint at that time, back in the 80s, let's say. And then if you go to government class, right, political science, it doesn't talk about, something existed between the economy and the government. But now, collectively, we discovered there's a space between pure market and pure government. And how you design in the middle and how you balance those extreme end, both end, and then something in the middle is a key to actually come up with the, city we live, right?
Completely. Yeah. For instance, as I said, I don't like very much the project that I show you when I criticized the forum, that there were these two hands, they were divided. There were the hand of public and the hand of private. I don't like this. This should be one thing, not, okay, here you do business and here we do something for the citizenship. No, you have to do a project which mingle the whole thing together, and not dividing your space for business, your space for public. This is the difficulty. Of course, that's what I said, that it's slower because it's easier to give space for private and or to decide from the government. From the nice thing is to try to find the win-win situation, but to do them together. For instance, we're doing now one project, very important, this enlargement of the Congress halls of Barcelona. I always tell them, to the people of the Congress hall, they want to do their business. They want to have more and more fairs and more people and more tourists. And I said, no, what do you need is to build up a Congress hall, which is part of the city. You don't want to do an island of a Congress hall. No, you want to do a Congress that kind of negotiates with the city and allows the people of the city to come together and to create spaces which are mixture of these two situations. If you start to divide everything into pieces, it's a terrible idea of the city done with islands. This is, I think, is something that we have to work very hard to make understand.
Thank you very much. And the last comment or question from myself is that the notion of recycling the city, not creating something very new in open space. We already have something in the city, right? So given that we have something, think about creatively how you redefine, how you use what's already have. Maybe just tweaking a little bit. We have a new value that you could never thought of, right? So Japanese cities are somewhat like European cities. It's already there. And then there's no green space, open space at all, unlike the Asian countries or something else. So not the green field, brown field is the nature of our smart city strategy in Japan, with some exceptions. So don't think too much about something imaginatory, but think about creatively what you can do with something new, something already existed. That's the another important message from Barcelona, I guess.
Yeah, we insist very much. The most ecological attitude is not to turn down and to start the new. I think we have to think about our decisions. In fact, if you have to turn down, it's better to be dismantled, disassembled, than not to turn down, and to try to reuse it, and to start thinking that materials. We're gonna face now a very, very, very important crisis. We went through economical crisis, social crisis, health crisis, and I think that the next crisis is going to be in terms of energy and resources. I think we have to think that our quarry is our city. We have to build up buildings with the buildings that we have. And if we dismantle, we have to build them with the same materials. And if we have to reuse the materials, we have to reuse the buildings, we have to rethink of how we use them. Of course, they have to change. Of course, it's important that things transform, but not transforming from the white page. I hate the idea of the white page. I like the idea of the life that was there before. It's always an opportunity to rethink about the future. The future, you know, the people that they row looking back. No, when you row in the middle of a lake, no, you are going forward but looking back. It's very important to create a connection between what's happened and what is going to happen, and you are always using history and heritage and whatever is there. It's always a good idea to start for the future.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's look at the questions and comments on the chat box. First one is from Ilya Golchin. Thank you for sending the message in Spanish. Buenos días, muchas gracias por la presentación. Viví en Barcelona un año en 2015. La ciudad más maravillosa que he visto en mi vida, con diseños de infraestructura muy guay. Me muero por volver a ir. I cannot read it. But...
Yo también, Yo también me muero por volver a venir a Tokio, que adoro Tokio, me encanta. I love Tokyo. She's saying that she wants to come to Barcelona, that she's very nice, this message. Thank you very much. But I'm saying that we can interchange, because I really want to go back to Tokyo. So you can come to Barcelona and I will go to Tokyo.
All right. The same person sending the messaging in English. A lot of Catalonian people always say that Barcelona has been sold to tourists, as we have also mentioned. However, it can also be seen as an investment and a source of income for the city. How is Barcelona procuring the finance money to do all the amazing projects that you have mentioned in your presentation? Yeah, the monetization of finance is an important part.
Very important, yeah. I think here there are many ways to answer. Of course, we are not against tourists. We like very much tourists. What we are against is massification of tourism, because the Ilya Gulchin that just give the message that she wants to come back to Barcelona. If we keep growing in tourism, she won't like Barcelona. We are killing, we say it in Spanish, we're killing our gold egg chicken. So we are killing the reason why it's beautiful Barcelona. We're killing it because it's too much. We are selling too much things to tourism and to this easy business. Of course, Spain is one of the most important countries in the world in terms of tourism. But we have to be very careful, because we are killing our beaches, we are killing our cities, our centers. And then in one day, people will say, I don't like to go to Barcelona because it's full of tourism. The tourists are saying this, that they don't want to come to Barcelona because it's full of tourists. So we have to create a new, of course, quality for tourism and enlarge the quality and create new ways to travel and decentralize, not put all the effort in the same place, and to really discover other areas of the city, which are also very interesting to visit. We have to, of course, create change the model, the economical model, because now it's I think it's 14% of the incomes that we have in the city, it's related with tourism. We have to reduce this and to enlarge maybe other sources of income. And of course, it has to be related with the smart cities, with other intelligent and talented people that they are coming. They like to live in Barcelona and create companies that gives other values, not only tourism. I think it's something very important now after the pandemic to take profit of this situation that now there are no tourists, and to create new values and create new opportunities for other investments. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And moving on to the next question from Tomi-san. Thank you for your very impressive and fruitful presentation. It is very surprising for me to hear that Barcelona successfully reduced its road spaces for automobiles close to 70%. Given the result, did you see any negative economic impact, such as lowering economic growth and/or higher unemployment?
We didn't reduce yet. It's a project. I've shown you the pilot projects, and now we are doing now we started to build the project that at the end will reduce 70%. But at the end, we all will have to reduce 70% our cars because it's something mandatory. We signed many programs in Paris. If we don't want to lose our planet, if we don't want to kill, we are killing many people every year for health problems, of respiratory problems, because of the smoke of the cars. Of course, one way is to change the cars. That we are doing this also. We are not allowing to move cars that are very contaminated, and we are starting to electrify. And there is a huge project of electrifying the cars and stuff. But this is not going to be the only problem. Also, it's because the activity, the economical activity, every time we take cars and we put people, the commercials go better, the business go better, the life goes better, the health goes better. It's a cars, of course, in cities like Barcelona, that we have a nice train system, metro system, a nice buses, and of course you can go through if you need with taxis, and you will be able to move. What is stupid, what is amazing, is that we're using cars for everything. When we have a very nice and it's going to be better transportation, public transportation.
Right,
we have to reduce because it's mandatory. But not only us, Paris, London, everybody's doing it, and of course Tokyo is also going to have to do it.
Yeah, and I was reading the newspaper one day. I think it's Guardian or something, and there is an article about the super areas, the super blocks, and then just like you described in your presentation, 21 streets and 21 square will be expanded, and then I think it says the green street and green square will be added to the super block ideas. Is that true?
Yeah, it's in fact in order to do the super blocks, you could take different strategies. The strategies that we did in 2015 was to do the super block one by one, no, but this is very slow because we don't have the money to do them all at the same time, which would be the nice thing. So we had to create a strategy to do them, but we decided not to do it by islands, no super blocks, but do it by the streets that connect them. So that's why the streets, in fact, is a step to the super blocks, but instead of doing islands, is doing the streets, the interior streets of the super block that connects the super blocks. I don't know if I explained myself. In fact, it's the same, but it's a different way to get there, which is through streets instead that through islands.
And my focus was that just in addition to making the streets longer, are you adding the green environmental flavor to it?
Yeah, of course. No, that's what I show you. The competition that has just finished with all these images are all, in fact, there are 4 or 5 guidelines for the competition. That one, of course, is that all those streets are becoming green infrastructure.
Yeah,
And
that's why. So, yeah, that's very smart. I thought, not just expanding the original superblock per se. You are taking care of the environment, decarbonization part, and you talked about the respiratory issues people facing. I think it's very smart. Green infrastructure. I think it's another important element.
It's a green infrastructure that also should connect other greens infrastructures that they are in the city already, which is the parks. So what is for biodiversity, what is very important is to connect those parks. So the nice thing about super access or super streets, that now we're dealing with different names, because it's the super blocks, it's good, but it's isolated. The super street that connects super blocks, it's good because then allows you to connect greens that already exist. And then the biodiversity goes from one to another easily.
I see. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Actually, from Kudo-san. Thank you for your great presentation. And the participatory budgeting, what kind of budget is the target for discussion as far as you know? E.g., building a community town hall or constructing a bicycle lane?
There is, of course, bicycle lane is the typical thing that everybody asks now, because one of the things that changed very much these last years has been the use of bicycle. We have a very nice system, and it's being very, very big. I think it's, I don't know how many new kilometers, but hundreds of new kilometers had been done during the pandemics and connecting the existing ones. So now we have a real grid of bicycle lanes, and still there's a lot of to do. So as more cyclists, more people ask, and then the way to do it is through DECIDIM. And there are many of those proposals that we are now voting that are related with bicycle lanes. Many others, which are big discussions there. The DECIDIM process, it's not the only participatory process. When it's about, for instance, a new neighborhood or things which are bigger, then there are other processes of participation, which are regular ways to discuss and vote from the city, and to do different other regular processes of gathering all the agents that are involved with those processes of participation. So there are many issues, but of course, the huge infrastructural discussions, they have, you cannot, my son cannot decide about big infrastructural decision. There are other areas and other agents that are gathering in other processes to do so.
Okay, thank you. And we had two comments I just want to introduce. One from Eriko Ozaki-san. Great, you need to be smart to handle the balance among the public people and business. And the next one, the comment is from Toshiaki Fujii-san. How your smart citizen grown up to participate city affairs? This is actually a question. How your smart citizens grown up to participate city affairs?
Yeah, this is very important, and I think it's a whole infrastructure that of course, you know, that this mayor come from activism. No, the mayor that we have, she's not a politician, she's an activist, and she came from the bottom of, and he is really she and all the movement of the commons are very, very connected with enormous quantity of associations that really are very important for this. So in fact, there's a whole connected net of associations and people that are connected, and of course it's the base for to enlarge all these participatory processes, for the good and for the bad, to say yes or to say no but there is a very, very big, that's what I said before. In Barcelona, it's one of the good things, and maybe somebody would say, and the bad things, because it's difficult to not to do something if you want to do it by yourself. You have to always to share it. So there is a huge net of associations which are interconnected, most of them, and there are many platforms that it's very easy to get there and to put an idea, and then the idea spreads out and you have 3 demonstrations every day, and people saying yes and saying no. So that these kind of ideas are I wouldn't say very easy, but it has a good infrastructure, the city, of connected institutions that allow these smart citizens to allow them to give their opinion.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Next one is actually from Uchida-san of the embassy. So what was your first impression last time you visited Japan? And do you think that there are something that Japan can learn from Barcelona?
Well, the first thing, I had the opportunity to have a hotel next to the central station. And from my window, the first picture I took of Japan was from my window of the hotel, with the central station, with the buildings on top and the life at night, the life there. And then the next morning I wanted to visit it. And I was completely amazed about the 3D. You have a city, you know, here we say something that Tokyo denies it. Here we say that the level of urbanity, is the 0 level, and most of the things, the good things that happen in Barcelona are in the 0 level. If you put something on top or down, it's very difficult that the people really connects this to these areas. And the one thing that I was amazed that we should learn very much from Japan is how did you do to really enlarge the 3D of the city. It's not, you don't work in one plane, you work in many different planes. No, things happen on top, things happen down. The central station, it's a city that which is below, and there are, I don't know how many doors to the city. You can live down there, and it's very normal and natural to connect with the 0 level and to connect with other levels of the city. And this is something I was completely amazed. And every time we draw and we think about Barcelona, we say, okay, how would Tokyo would solve this problem? No, because many times we have this situation. I don't know if it's because you are more used, maybe for the climate, maybe for, I don't know, how did you get the opportunity to create a 3D in different layers of the city? No, it's amazing, it's emotional. I liked it very much, and I hope that we could learn someday to give this life in places where we don't have really life. No, we use the underground to cross, to move, but not to happen things. No, and you have these great solutions for these situations. And I don't know what you could learn from Barcelona. Of course, it's a city. It's very different because it's much more bigger. And of course, it's very decentralized also, Japan. I like very much also the different centers that you have. No, it's a city where happens many things in many places. No, it's not like the traditional medieval cities like in Europe that you have a center and everything is around the center. Here in Tokyo, it's beautiful how also develops this multi-centered. Maybe what I would ask, if it's possible when we're talking of a city such as big as and important as Tokyo, is to humanize a little bit more some of the spaces which I felt a little bit out of my secure spaces, no, where too big, and I think, for instance, New York has this double condition. New York, there are places which are very big and very center of the world, and like Tokyo, but then you have also very little grids that allows you to live in a very different way. And I'm sure that Tokyo has already also these spaces that I didn't have the opportunity to visit and to know very well. But maybe if I had to say something, I would say to humanize a little bit these huge spaces that you have.
Thank you very much. Actually, Uchida-san once put the article on the Nikkei newspaper, And then I also follow one of your slides, with the onions.
Yeah.
Flip over the order from outside in to inside out. That's the kind of key message, human centricity. Think about, you as a center of, the space, then look around the neighbors and then streets and, going outside one by one. That kind of an order of thinking is pretty much intriguing, actually. We never thought about that, actually. So each time I make a presentation to our, the member cities or, those who request my lecture, I take your example, actually. Actually, exactly the same size. This is how Barcelona discovered human centricity. And this is the way the people in Barcelona became smart citizens. We are talking about not, the smart city, but talking about smart citizens. Let's take this example as, case we learn from. That's the kind of things we do, actually.
Great.
All right, next one is a message from Miss Miyako Tsutsui. Actually, she's a famous architect from Vienna. Thank you for the interesting lecture. It is important for the cities, especially Tokyo or big cities in Japan, to learn which problem would be happening when too much capitalistic development has done. Mr. Nagumo, please provide this lecture in Japanese so that many people, parents, especially politicians, government officials engaged in urban development can realize what is might be going wrong in Japan now and after Olympic Games. Humanity comes first before technology, SDGs, tourism. Exactly, she's echoing what we were talking about.
I completely agree. I completely agree.
Yeah, thank you, Tsui-san. Yeah, I will do so to my people. Thank you for the important message. Now the Oki-san, open source means information to be available to everyone, but also does recipients to share whatever they have developed. Those cities sharing with the others. A little bit tricky question, but what it says that the DECIDIM is open source program, right? And then let's say one city somewhere in the world started to download and use it and started to develop their own piece of it. And then do they share back? They don't need to.
Well, there is as I said, there is this, it's not a closed system, it's an open system. And there is a community with all the people who are using it, which are implementing, and they share all those the things. You can do whatever you want with DECIDIM. And if you do something good, the good thing is that you share it to everybody, like you share, like we shared. No, so it's a community of improvements. I think that some of the things that they are being improved now belong to that community that is being doing things of their own, and then sharing them with the rest of the community. It's a open source and ongoing project.
I see. Thank you. And the last question, actually, from Uchida-san again. Okay. After COVID-19, do you think that Barcelona will go back or
I hope not. I hope not. I hope that I hope that after the COVID we will be better than before the COVID. We cannot, there are many people who says, okay, let's go back to where we were. I think this is a problem. We were not good. We were doing things not very well in terms of air pollution, in terms of housing, in terms of, I think in Barcelona we have many problems, and that I hope that we learn something, and that after the COVID, we don't go back to the same position. For instance, now there is a big discussion today, this morning, with enlargement of the airport. There are some people who say, we want a bigger airport to connect with Japan, to have international flights, to have more, and to go from 50 millions of visitors to 70 millions of visitors. And we have to enlarge the land to over a protected land, which is in the delta of Llobregat, with birds, with plants, with lakes. It's a beautiful place, very small, but it's next to Barcelona. So the ones who think, no, we have to go back, they want to enlarge the airport. They want to go back to the investment, to want to have no 50, 70 million of tourism. No, and we're saying no. We're saying, or many other people saying no. It's not aligned with the climate change decisions that we should take now. It's not aligned with the idea of having fewer tourists, but maybe with more quality, and that they really culturally, we have cultural interaction, and not having people to get drunk. In Barcelona, we have most of low-cost tourists, many people that they come to get drunk because it's a beautiful place, and plazas and bars and beaches. But we have to shift and change. We don't have to go back. Please don't go back to, I hope we don't go back to the same situation. We have to be better. We have to learn something out of this, and we have to be more resilient if something else comes back, like a new pandemic or a new big problem.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, my story is much smaller than what you said. You know, I don't need to commute to the office right now because of the COVID-19, right? And I discovered more family time, right? So what have I been doing? Just, you know, packed in a crowded train for 1 hour and a half to go, and another 1 hour and a half to come back. You know, sleepy head standing in a packed train, exhausted already when you got the office. Now you don't need to actually. You can work from home, and no productivity, you know, damage at all. So, you know, but some people say, okay, once the COVID is clear, let's go back to the office.
Yeah. I completely agree. Completely. But with only one difference. I want to go to Japan. So I hope that next time I will come, I will take the plane and come to Japan, because in this case I need to know better, and it's not enough to see you in the screens.
Yeah, let's reactivate our, you know, mutual, you know, communication physically, back and forth.
Physically,
yeah. All right. Joseph, I think it's time, and we covered all the questions. So thank you for the questions from the audiences, and thank you for the excellent presentation, and thank you for answering all the questions, Joseph. We again learned from you a lot, actually, and it's enlightening, right?
Thank you very much, and I'm very, very glad to join you anytime you want. And of course, I'm sorry if my lecture about DECIDIM, because I'm not the one who created. But if you need any further explanation, of course, I put in the presentation the connect, how you can connect, and they will be delighted to give you more information.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, thank you very much, Mr. Joseph, Joseph, and we'd like to reopen the communication, and then please come to Tokyo again. Okay.
Oh, thank you very much. I will come.
All right, thank you very much. That's closed our webinar today. Kudo-san, please.
Hi, so Joseph-san, thank you very much for your great presentation, and we really enjoyed, your presentation. And also for all the viewers who were still with us now, let me introduce a couple of slides for smart city institutions. Yep. So this is a slide for introduction of Smart City Institute Japan and webinars. And first of all, thank you very much for viewing today. And as for the programs, we are putting all those information on Smart City Institute Japan's Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So please stay tuned. And also for the past videos, including today's video, will be posted on Smart City Institute Japan YouTube channel. So you can watch and rewatch again today's lecture by Joseph-san. For the future programs, I just put here only in English. So next week, Wednesday, we have British Embassy Tokyo introducing British Smart Light Solutions startup companies. Name is Telensa, so stay tuned. And also early July 2nd, we are going to have smart cities as the engines of growth and prosperity by Connected Place Catapult in UK. And also from Singapore, July 6th, we are going to have Eden Strategy Institute, and they are going to make a presentation on top 50 smart city governments ranking. And I think you may be new to this government rankings, but you will hear more from us because we like it very much. And Smart City Institute Japan, we are growing, and the membership is about 410 now, and it's still growing. So if you are not a member yet, please give us a call, and you can join. And our membership again, 6 government ministries and 190 local governments, 43 prefectures in Japan, and also the universities. And we have a great global partners organization, and from Danish, British, and I forgot to put Barcelona City. So Joseph, I'm sorry about that. That's my fault. And of course, it's Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. This has a campus in Barcelona, or the research institution. And to become a membership, they are full member, from supporting member and non-member. And for the supporting member, if you are the universities, from research institutes or non-profit organization, the memberships are free. And if you are the business company, yes, you need to pay annual membership fee, but you have a lot of privileges. So again, thank you very much for staying tuned. And in Tokyo or in Japan, it is Friday night. So please have a nice weekend. And Joseph, I know that it's still, in the middle of the day. So please enjoy the rest of the day, and please have a nice weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye now.
Bye-bye.